Welcome to World Transits Today. I'm Art Granoff. Connect with me at referenceastrology.com. And today I'm going to run down the September 2025 World Transits in archetypal astrology. And then we'll talk about the equinox. Today, I thought I would start with explaining some of the planetary archetypes and what they're about. And as we know, planetary archetypes are multivalent, meaning they can express themselves in different ways, in a positive way or a negative way. So let me tell you about them. Here we go. There's the sun. The sun represents my identity, I, me, who I am in the world. And the shadow side of that would be too much me, ego trip. Okay. The moon, hey, the moon is about sensitivity and we, family, where we're from. The moon, and could be the negative side, could be oversensitivity. We have the planet Mercury, it's the mind and communicating, or overthinking and overtalking. For love and beauty, we have Venus, or the shadow would be too beautiful or heartbreaking. Motivation and assertion is Mars, or forcing a situation with aggression. Jupiter refers to expansion and success, or personal inflation, hubris. Now, those are the inner planet transits, as they're called. They move quickly around the sun. And the last four are the outer planet transits. They move a lot slower. So we have the planet Saturn, referring to structure and strength, or limitation, constriction, or the shadow. The planet Uranus, referring to what's new and exciting, or being unconstrained and way out. What's ideal and flowing? Well, that's Neptune. Or the other side would be confusion and delusion. And then there's Pluto, about agency and renewal, or intensity, compulsion, possession. So as an example, this horoscope here on the right, September 1st, 2025, world transits. Let's see what we got. If we start out, we see we have the sun, okay, conjunct with Mercury. The sun is right next to Mercury. So let's look at our handy guide here and see what we get. The sun is me, my identity, and Mercury is about our mind and communicating. And then we have the sun and Mercury both in a square with Uranus. So Uranus over here is what's new and exciting or unconstrained. So one could say with those three planets, we have the sun, my identity, Mercury, the mind, and Uranus on what's new and exciting. So that could refer to the aha moment. So today is a good day for the aha moment. If we look at the moon is our sensitivity, right there, the moon. And we see the moon is also on Mercury, right there, a trine with Mercury. So we look at sensitivity and we look at mind and communicating. Well, this may be a good time for us to have an intimate conversation with someone, maybe someone in our family. We can work some stuff out. It's a good time for that. Okay, and then we can go further. We look at the planet Uranus right here as an example. Again, Uranus would be what's new and exciting. Oops. And we see that Uranus is in a trine with Pluto right there. Pluto is about agency and renewal. So Uranus with Pluto would refer to what's new and exciting and renewal right there. And if we notice even a little deeper, the planet Uranus is at 1 degrees and the planet Pluto is at 1 degrees. That means they're an exact trine. That's pretty good. Okay. Then if we look over here, yeah, you see there's that line, and then you see this little guys over here. It looks like a little mini triangle right there. Well, both Uranus and Pluto are both touching Saturn and Neptune. Okay, so if we look at Saturn, we see that Saturn is about structure and strength or limitation. And then we look at Neptune right there, and Neptune is what's ideal and flowing or confusion. All right. So if we look again, we notice this little triangle here. We have Uranus at 1 degree, we have Neptune at 1 degree, and we have Pluto at 1 degree. So we have now, today, actually for a while, a couple of years, the three outer planets all together at 1 degree. Pretty good, huh? I'd say it's a really great time. And also, if you notice, this line here, this trine, looks like it's pointing at something. I wonder what it's pointing at. Anybody has an idea? Please tell me. Okay, so there's just one example of the basic planetary archetypes, the sun and the moon and 8 planets, their positive expression and their negative expression. So what we can do just with this little bit of information, we can look at the chart of the day, or we can look at a birth chart and figure out what's going on without studying astrology for 10 years. Try it out. And Uranus and Pluto, we'll go a little deeper with that. See, Uranus trine Pluto is a 10-year transit, started over in 2022 and is done around 2032. And Saturn conjunct Neptune runs for 3 years in the middle. Again, Uranus is about awakenings and breakthroughs, and Pluto is about power. And together they symbolize a revolution, collective awakening. Similarly, with Saturn and Neptune, Saturn limits its or structure, and Neptune is ideal and loosens boundaries. So together, Saturn and Neptune either building dreams, dreams would be Neptune, Saturn building, or forget about it. There's conflict between what's real and ideal. And if we look today again, September 1st, today, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, all at 1 degrees. Let's explore some of our inner planet transits this month. We see right here on the transit timeline. Let's look at Mercury transits this month. We start out, we see that Mercury square Uranus started in the end of August and ends around September 8th or so. Mercury again, our mind, how we communicate. And Uranus, the new thing, fresh air, the aha moment. So safe to say that this week is a really great week for discovering some new intellectual stuff, read a new book, write something, learn something. It's a good time for it. Then, coming in around the 7th, right there is Mercury with Jupiter. Jupiter expands and brings success, good fortune. So if you're studying something with your mind, okay, which you've been doing for a week, something new, it looks like you might get some juice out of it, some satisfaction, because Jupiter is going to provide some grace and success to your pursuits. It could. We've got also Mercury opposite Saturn coming in. Okay, Saturn again, the bottom line, reality, what's real, what's practical, and Mercury, the mind. So it's studying what's practical, doing what's practical, reading about what's practical, writing about what's practical, etc. Mind on the track. We have Mercury, Neptune. Neptune's our imagination, spirituality, divine union. So what would Mercury and Neptune be? Well, again, if Mercury's Saturn, is about practical things, and things that are important to make life work and keep going. Mercury Neptune, on the other hand, would be about dreams, imagination, be music, be art, something that really invigorates your imagination, getting going with it, thinking about it, reading about it, writing about it, playing it on the saxophone, painting it, etc. And then look who's back, Mercury Uranus, back for another round, mid-month till almost the end of the month, the aha moment again, with Mercury trine Pluto. Pluto is what's underground, underneath the surface. And Mercury is our intellectual pursuits and communication. So we could read some intense books. We could go deep with our mind, find the prize. So we notice here that all of September, we've got the Mercury with most of the outer planets right here. And also, and as a bonus, we notice there's that trine I mentioned, the Uranus and Pluto trine. So having Mercury with Uranus and Mercury with Pluto, with the Uranus-Pluto trine, just adds a lot of energy to it. So great time to go for it. Go deep with your mind this month. How about the sun? Whoa, there's our sun transits right there. Let's see what we got. We start out from the end of August, the sun sextile Jupiter. The sun is my identity, who I am in the world, and Jupiter provides success and good fortune. That's pretty good. Also, the sun is with Mercury. Sun, identity, Mercury, the mind. Well, if we've got, think of this, the sun with Mercury, we've got Mercury with Jupiter, and the sun with Jupiter. So this looks like a really good time from like the beginning of the month till the third week or so for really going deep with your mind, using your intellect in a way that is new, is fresh, is practical, and is imaginal at the same time. Because dig it, besides that, on all those Mercury transits I mentioned, here's the sun on Saturn, there, from half a month. Sun on Neptune, the second half of the month. The sun with Uranus, and the sun with Pluto. Wow. Sun Saturn would be father, one who provides, doing practical things in the world. Sun Neptune would be using our imagination, doing imaginative things in the world, poetry, dance, artwork, etc. And we have the sun with Uranus. Hey, reach for the sun, wearing the halo, the new thing, fresh air, my identity, fresh with the new thing. And sun with Pluto. Now, Pluto is a tough character. Pluto can be a couple of things. Pluto can be really rough and tough with stuff that comes out of you, a voice that you don't really recognize, but is always angry and is always upset and always wants to let people have it at the wrong time. Okay, you know that kind of activity in yourself or with somebody else? Maybe, right? And also, Pluto is about finding your voice, about listening and hearing that voice bubbling up inside, and finally coming out in some way that's helpful, perhaps through the arts, through music, through dance, through some type of expression. Sun Pluto. So, what a great month for our identity and our intellect. We can reach for the sun. We could go deep with Pluto, read some books, write a book, go forward. Hey, we have some new Jupiter transits. In fact, a whole bunch of them coming in September. Notice right here Jupiter with Saturn, Jupiter with Neptune, and Jupiter with Pluto. Wow. So, Jupiter with Saturn. Saturn is what's solid, and Jupiter expands that. So, it's a good time to clean your house, work on stuff you've been working on. Maybe the time is right for that. Jupiter Neptune is flowing. Neptune's spirituality, and Jupiter can expand on that. Good for meditation, doing some inner work. And Jupiter opposite Pluto. Pluto, again, could be expressing yourself deeply or it could be Hades. So Jupiter can either expand your true voice and go forward with it towards success, or Jupiter can expand that upset baby creature in there that doesn't get any energy. And then when it gets triggered and pops up, it expands a lot. So watch for that. Okay. Jupiter transits. And here's how long they are, too. It starts in September, these transits, these Jupiter transits here. And they take a break for a few months, go retrograde, then come back strong in July and August of next year. So there's something good to look forward to. Then on the 7th of the month, we have the full moon, the sun opposite the moon. The sun is my identity in the world, I going forward, and the moon is we, our sensitivity. It's two sides of us, right? Our outward personality and our inward personality. The furthest away they could be from each other each month. It's a big sun moon event, one of the two each month. The full moon. This full moon with the planet Jupiter, expansion, and the planet Mercury, your mind and intellect. That's what I was just talking about. Here comes the planet Mars. We see from mid-August until mid-September, it's Mars square Jupiter. So Mars is our motivation, our get up and go, our drive, and Jupiter can expand that, okay, grant it success. On the shadow, Mars, when Mars is activated, Mars gets going, motivated, Mars can get sometimes a little forceful or too forceful. And one might say pushy. And then Jupiter can expand that and make it even greater. So if you find yourself or you see someone really pushing people around in a big way, you know they're really living out this transit. And then to even add further to that, coming in around the 10th to the coming in around the 10th till early October, it's Mars square Pluto. Now, again, Mars is strength, tenacity, and courage, and Pluto's depth in the underworld. So, Mars with Pluto gives you the strength to do the toughest work, to drive into your transformation, okay? And the shadow of Mars Pluto, we all know, would be unrestrained rage, unrestrained anger. Look at Ukraine war. Look at the Gaza war. Mars Pluto. And we got some Venus in there too. Don't forget Venus. We've got Venus with Mars, okay? Would be Venus is open and giving. Mars would be strong and taking, right? They're opposites, like almost male and female. And then with Venus square Uranus, that would be fresh aesthetics, fresh love. So it looks like with Uranus and Pluto, and Mars and Pluto, and Mars and Venus, and Venus and Uranus, looks like a good time to not get too mad, to fall in love, and to transform. Can you do all that at the same time? I hope so, 'cause I'm going to be trying. Okay, Venus. And here we go, 9/11, 2001 was the day that there was a big mess in New York City. And here's the chart for that day, September 11, 2001. And we notice a couple of things right off the bat. We see here that the planet Saturn, right there, is opposite the planet Pluto. Now, Saturn restricts and limits, okay? And Pluto is the volcano exploding. So when we look at Saturn and we look at Pluto together, there's some of the toughest energies, total restriction and Hades at the same time. A lot of frustration, a lot of anger, a lot of angst. In Stan Grof's Basic Perinatal Matrices, the planet Saturn would be BPM2, restriction, stuck in the birth canal. And Pluto would be BPM3, the intensity of trying to get out and be born. So that looks like a tough time, Saturn and Pluto. Also, we had the moon that day, right with Mars, just 2 degrees apart. Mars is motivation, or Mars can be anger, and moon sensitivity can be oversensitivity. So it can be a lot of anger and frustration and big mess. So there's just a couple of examples of Saturn opposite Pluto and the moon with Mars on 9/11, 2001. I'm waiting for September 11th, 2029, when we go into the 9/11 Saturn return. So stay tuned for that one. Another September event, September 18th, 1970. I see Grateful Dead for the first time. Yeah. And I was 17 years old at that time and had a really fun day. And I want to show you that on that date, September 18th, 1970, we had two of our friends were around. We had Saturn opposite Neptune, and we had Uranus conjunct Pluto. So just now, just like now, back then, and numerous times, the Saturn and Neptune pair, and the Uranus and Pluto pair. September 21st, 2025, we have the new moon. The sun and the moon are conjunct. A couple of weeks ago, they were opposite with the full moon. But now, we have the new moon. Now, in 30 days or so, 28 days or so, the moon is going to travel the zodiac and come back again. And so it'll be the new moon again. The Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. And this is the second of the two main sun and moon monthly holidays. Then the next day is the equinox, okay, the autumn equinox. And I've got a little treat here for celebrating the equinox. Firstly, the equinox is one of 2 days in the year when the sun crosses the equator and day and night become equal in length. So we see in Egypt, there's the equinox there by the Sphinx and the pyramids. And here, the Mayan equinox in Chichen Itza, right there. And there's the snake. See there? The sun hits the building and rah, the serpent talks. Pretty cool. We also have the song by John Coltrane. And here's the chart of John Coltrane. Let's look at it this way. Back to where we started with the planetary archetype key over here. So let's check it out. So John Coltrane is born September 23rd, 1926. And at that date in 1926, it was the equinox. So think about this. Coltrane is born on the equinox. So every time he has his birthday in his life, it's the equinox. I mean, I just noticed that when I was researching for this show. So that's pretty cool. He's born on the equinox, and he's born with the sun conjunct Mercury opposite Uranus. So we go back to our handy chart here. The sun is I, the Mercury is our mind, and Uranus is what's new and exciting. So, gee, isn't that what he was all about? About playing the saxophone, using his mind, his grand intellect, in a new way, in a fresh way. We have in Coltrane's chart, we've got Jupiter opposite Neptune. Jupiter is about expansion and success, and Neptune is about what's ideal and flowing. Well, I guess we could say that Coltrane was flowing, right? We've got Saturn opposite Mars. Saturn would be structure and strength, and Mars would be motivation and assertion. Well, one could say that Coltrane was a powerful saxophonist and he kept going, the strength and tenacity to keep going. Mars with Saturn. Also, Saturn, again, the planet of structure and strength, in a trine with Pluto right there, agency and renewal. Well, safe to say, he has the chops and he's got the power to attract great artists like Miles Davis and Thelonious Monk, who he played with quite a bit before he set out on his own. So there's just a quick example of some of the aspects in the chart of John Coltrane using planetary archetypes key right here. Coltrane played saxophone on Miles Davis' album, Kind of Blue, which is the best-selling jazz album in history. Not a bad thing to have. Also played with Thelonious Monk, great pianist. And Coltrane with numerous albums of his own. Giant Steps, Love Supreme, Blue Train, etc. And wait, did you know in San Francisco, there's the St. John Coltrane African Orthodox Church, the global spiritual community. It says here, God breathes through us so completely, so gently, we hardly feel it. Yet it's our everything. Thank you, God. And thanks for joining me at World Transits Today, everybody. Running down the September 2025 World Transits. I'm Art Granoff.